Welcome to video 26, which is titled, Origin is Not Authority. This video is part of the Genesis to Paul Foundation series, where we clarify the deeper categories that shape Paul's relational thinking. In the last video, we made a careful distinction. Order is not the same thing as hierarchy. Order describes how relationships fit together. Hierarchy describes how power is distributed. Once that distinction is clear, the next question becomes unavoidable. If order is not hierarchy, then what about origin? We need to ask this because in both Genesis and Paul, origin language appears constantly. The woman is from the man. Man is from Christ. Christ is from God. And many readers instinctively treat from as though it implies authority, as though from means under, as though source automatically means superiority. But that assumption is precisely what we need to examine. Because if we collapse origin into authority, we will misread both Genesis and Paul. So the question for this video is simple. What does it mean to be from someone? And why does from not equal authority? Let's begin with Genesis again. Genesis 2 describes the woman as being formed from the man. This is not a metaphor. It is an account of origin. It tells us something about relational beginning. But notice what Genesis does not say. It does not say, because she is from him, he must rule her. It does not say, because she is from him, he has authority over her. It does not say, because she is from him, she is of lesser worth. Genesis 2 gives origin, but it does not turn origin into domination. Origin is a relational fact, not a power grant. From describes source. It does not assign control. This is why Genesis 2 can contain order without hierarchy. Origin creates direction, but it does not create coercion. Now let's move to Paul. In 1 Corinthians 11, Paul uses origin language with unusual clarity. He says that woman is from man, and man is through woman, and all things are from God. Paul is not embarrassed by origin, but he is also careful. If origin implied superiority, Paul's own argument would collapse. Because Paul applies the same from language to Christ and to God, if from meant inferiority, then to say Christ is from God would imply Christ is less than God. Paul does not believe that. Paul treats origin as a relational order, not a hierarchy of value. That is why he qualifies from with through. Man is from woman in a different way, and all things are ultimately from God. In other words, origin is never simply a one-way chain. It is a relational grammar. There is direction, but there is also reciprocity. There is source, but there is also return. And that is the point. Paul is naming relational dependence, not distributing power. This is where many modern readings go wrong. They read origin as authority because they assume that any asymmetry must be a power structure. But asymmetry is not the same thing as domination. You can have asymmetry as gift without turning it into control. In fact, if you remove asymmetry entirely, you remove the very relations Paul is trying to describe, because from is not accidental to his theology. It is how he thinks about life itself. Life is received. No one is self-originating. No one is self-contained. No one is a source unto themselves. The fundamental posture of creaturehood is receptivity. And this is why from cannot be reduced to authority. Authority is a legal category. It belongs to the world of commands, rights, enforcement, and compliance. Origin is an ontological category. It belongs to being. It describes how life is given and how relations are constituted. To confuse authority with origin is to confuse ethics with ontology. Here is another way to say it. Authority answers questions like, who has the right to command? Who must obey? Who can enforce? Origin answers different questions. Where does life come from? How is identity given? How do persons relate as giver and receiver? Those are different domains. And so, if we import authority into origin, we distort both. We distort origin by turning gift into control, and we distort authority by making it seem metaphysically necessary. Paul does not do either. This is why the language of from has such a stabilizing effect in Paul, because it reminds us that relationship is not an optional arrangement. It is a condition of existence. To be human is to be from another. To be Christian is to confess that all things are from God. To be in Christ is to receive life, not seize it. Origin creates humility, not humiliation, humility, because it tells the truth about what we are. We are receivers before we are actors. We are given before we are self-directed. And that is why Paul places such weight on posture. Submission, for Paul, is not first a command. It is a shared orientation that arises from the fact that life is received, and only from that posture can actions like love, reverence, and honor be rightly understood. So let's summarize what we've established in this video. Origin is not authority. To be from someone is not to be under their control. From names relational beginning, not power. It establishes direction but not domination. And once that is seen, a whole set of false dilemmas dissolves. We are no longer forced to choose between hierarchy and flatness, because relational origin can produce real order without requiring power. In the next video, we will take the next step. We'll name what this from grammar really is. We'll explore the one out of the other pattern as a grammar of relation, not just in Genesis, but as a way of understanding personhood itself. That is where the deeper structure starts to become visible. Thank you for watching.